The movie opens with a violin concert by Mozart in Paris. After his first performance, he introduces himself to the audience and asks them to make any request of their choice for him to play. Out of nowhere, a man named Joseph asks him to play Violin Concerto No. 5. Joseph then asks if he can play along with him. Mozart makes fun of him for some time before allowing him to play with him. Joseph's performance outshines Mozart's. The audience are delighted by Joseph's performance, and out of jealousy, Mozart leaves the stage. The movie then plays back to when Joseph first came to Paris with his father, George. His father sent him to a prestigious academy, but the head of the school had difficulty admitting him because his mother is black. After George allows his son to show the head of the school his talent, the man is blown away and takes him in immediately. George charges his son before leaving him that he must become excellent because no one tears down an excellent Frenchman. Joseph, being the only black person in the academy, mostly got bullied by his mates, but despite all, he remained excellent just as his father told him to. In a fencing contest where Joseph came out first, the Queen of Paris, Marie Antoinette, bestows on him Chevalier de Saint-Georges. A year later, Joseph is still enjoying his reign as the Chevalier. He attends a party with Queen Marie Antoinette. Later during the party, La Guimard, a solo singer, approaches Joseph and expresses her interest in him. Not to disgrace her, Joseph politely turns her offer down and continues exchanging pleasantries with others. The only woman that gets his attention at the party is Marie Josephine, a beautiful young lady with a charming voice. Just as he finally has the opportunity to converse with her, Madame de Genlis, her cousin, arrives and informs her that she has committed to returning Marie Josephine promptly as promised to her husband. Joseph then joins Queen Marie Antoinette and conveys his desire of being the head of Paris Opera. Queen Marie Antoinette makes it clear to him that for that to happen, he must prove that he's better by competing with Gluck for the position. Early the next morning, Joseph receives a letter from his father's lawyer stating that his father is dead. The letter further states that his father left him with none of his properties and has also freed his enslaved mother, Nanon, into his care. Joseph later goes to meet Nanon, takes her to his home and orders the dressmakers to make new clothes for her. Nanon expresses how proud she is of his only son, his achievements and talents since he was enrolled in the academy. Joseph suddenly becomes uneasy hearing those words coming from her and excuses himself to meet Madame de Genlis. Joseph wants her to produce Ernestine, his opera for the coming contest, since she knows investors. Madame de Genlis accepts his request, but on condition that when he wins it, he must put her novel on stage at the Palais Royal. Joseph agrees to it and says he will also like Marie Josephine to be his lead. In no time, Joseph arrives at Marie Josephine's house to ask for permission from her husband. When Marquis de Montalembert arrives, he takes Joseph with him and warns him to stay away from his wife because he doesn't want her to be performing under the lustful eyes of other men. This hurts Joseph so much, but he moves on with the auditioning, utilizing other singers. It doesn't go quite well for Joseph as the singers were either going off key, shouting too much or singing without passion. Just when he decides to quit everything, Marie Josephine arrives telling him she would love to perform in his opera because her husband won't be around for the rest of the year. Joseph makes it clear that he doesn't want her to have problems in her marriage, but she affirms him that she can manage her husband. They begin the rehearsals the next day. When Philippe, Joseph's best friend, sees Marie Josephine singing Ernestine, he warns him to stay away from her for the sake of his life and that of his loved ones, but Joseph won't listen to him. Next, they journey to a meeting that seeks to uphold justice for all men. One day while Joseph is rehearsing alone, Marie Josephine walks in and they have a conversation. Marie Josephine opens up about her marriage, stating that it was arranged for her. Her dad married her off to the Marquis soon after her mom died. They soon share a kiss, and after that emotional moment, things begin to change. Marie Josephine mostly shared her nights with Joseph and they publicly showed affection for each other even to the day of the opera. The judges nod to their performance, indicating that they did a good job. Madame de Genlis also brings news that the committee loved his opera and for sure, he's winning. Joseph, along with Philippe and Marie Josephine, later raises a toast to the success of Joseph's opera. When Marie Josephine excuses herself, Philippe again warns him about the affair he's having with Marie Josephine. Philippe mentions that he'll be leaving to England very soon for some political reasons and he would love to go with Joseph, but Joseph rejects the offer. Later in the evening, when Marie Josephine and Joseph are together, they make plans on what to do with the love they are having for each other, and Joseph suggests that they leave and start a new life somewhere else. The next morning, which is the day when the final results will be released, Joseph's mother asks about the lady who has been sneaking into his room every night. Nanon tries to caution him because she doesn't like him having an affair with a white woman, but Joseph asks her not to worry about him, just as it was since the time he was a little boy and all alone. This hurts Nanon so much, but Joseph doesn't mind how she feels and rushes away to hear the results of the opera. Joseph, upon reaching the destination, finds out that he didn't get the opportunity to be the head of the Paris Opera, exclusively because of his race. He asks the Queen to do something about it, but she clearly states that she can't publicly support a Negro, and therefore the position goes to Gluck. Later, when everyone is celebrating Gluck, Joseph approaches the Queen and tells her that she will regret leaving him and backing Gluck when the whole of France and Europe gets to know of his talent. He relocates to La Guimard and accuses her of being a snake for recognizing his excellence but refraining from acknowledging it, as he denies any involvement in an intimate relationship with her. He goes on pouring out his pain on everyone, and they waste no time to drag him out of the party. On his way home in the dark, Marquis de Montalembert's men attack Joseph for disgracing the Queen and also making Marie-Josephine perform in his opera. Marquis de Montalembert orders his men to break his hands so that he can't play anymore, but luckily for him, Marie-Josephine pleads with her husband and he lets him go. Before letting him go, he warns him to stay away from his wife and lands a punch in his stomach. 6 months have passed now, and despite all the disgrace Joseph brought to the Queen and the committee, he still holds his position as the Chevalier. One day while he's playing his violin, one of the strings breaks and he takes it to town to fix it. After fixing it, he spots Marie-Josephine heavily pregnant with her husband in the flower market. Joseph follows her into a church, and after her session of prayer, he confronts her about the pregnancy. Joseph is sure that the baby is his, so he urges her to run away with him, but Marie-Josephine says the baby's father is the Marquis. Joseph becomes troubled and he loses interest in music and even loses focus in life. Nanon sees this and takes him to a street where everyone is black and they are very welcoming. His mood immediately switches when he sees how happy his people are, playing and dancing to the beats of their own songs. Joseph joins them in playing the drum and later takes them to his house for some refreshment. While Joseph is running around with a little boy, he hears a knock on the door. It's Madame de Genlis. She brings news that Marie-Josephine gave birth not long ago and the baby was black. Marie-Josephine's husband immediately killed him when he saw his color. This news breaks down Joseph so much that he scatters his music room, breaking glasses all around. Nanon tries to console his son. The next day, Joseph questions his mom about why colored people don't seem to have any choice in life. He was taken away from his mom without choice, and his son has also been taken away from him without choice. Nanon helps him comprehend that this is the world they inhabit, and it is intentionally crafted for them to exist in this manner. Nanon then tells Joseph how she ran away every day to attempt to find him, even though they kept catching her. She then tells Joseph that they always have a choice, that's the choice to fight. At night while Joseph is asleep, the protests from the hungry and desperate citizens about the unfair rule of the Queen wake him up. He goes out to check what's happening only to see a man getting shot right in front of him. Faced with these experiences, he begins pondering the concept of organizing a concert that portrays the reign of the Queen. After completing the song, he takes it to Philippe and asks him to invite everyone and also to charge a fair price. He says that he would like to use the money to feed all the needy. While Joseph is in the rehearsal room, Marie-Josephine comes in and apologizes for lying to him. Joseph says it's her fault their son died, but she argues that it was her child too, and she carried him in her belly for months. Marie-Josephine states that it's her wish to live with him forever, but Joseph says it's late. Marie-Josephine then walks away, telling him his son was very beautiful. While Joseph is preparing for his concert, the Queen pays him a visit. She calls Joseph arrogant and disrespectful. She warns him to quit his concert, otherwise she will take his position from him and arrest him, but immediately she turns to leave. Joseph directs himself up the stage and begins his concert. When Joseph begins to play, Nanon's eyes become teary. Philippe and Madame de Genlis feel so proud of him. The Queen hears him playing and orders the Marquis and his men to go for him. When they arrive, Joseph halts the concert and surrenders himself for arrest. The crowd then begins to chant "Liberty" and call the Marquis a murderer. The loud cries drown out his voice, leading him to release Joseph. Joseph then calls at the orchestra to continue playing. The Queen's face is veiled in shock when she sees Joseph still alive and the orchestra still playing. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. In 1789, a violent rebellion erupted among the people against Marie Antoinette and the monarchy. Joseph Bologna led the first all-black regiment in the French Revolution. In 1802, slavery was brought back, and as a result, many of Joseph's work was destroyed and forgotten. Over time, scholars and musicians have rediscovered Joseph's life and music. Joseph is now recognized as one of the first known black classical composers and rightfully regarded as a preeminent virtuoso violinist.